Hey guys, welcome back to Hench and Saunters. My name is John, and for this episode I'm doing a retro review for Green Lantern. Now, all too often with these retro review segments, I cover films that I like, which obviously makes it inherently difficult to be critical. Now, Green Lantern is a film that I'm finding it harder and harder to defend after repeat viewings, and I know that there are a lot of people out there who truly hate it. So let me talk about it. One of the glaring problems of this film is the casting. Now, I do like Ryan Reynolds. I like him in serious roles, I like him in comedy roles. I don't have anything against him personally. He seems like a nice enough guy. He's very sarcastic, but it works for him. And when he was announced, I wasn't against the idea. But now, after seeing Deadpool and after seeing how incredible he can be in something that he obviously puts his heart and soul into, you can really see how incredibly miscast he was as Hal Jordan. Now, I really wanted Chris Pine for it, even when Chris Pine was in talks for the new DC movies. Obviously, it turns out he's going to be Steve Trevor, but I wanted him again for Hal Jordan. But considering Justin Timberlake was actually one of the frontrunners to play Hal Jordan, you can see where the Warner Brothers executives' intentions lie. Now, Blake Lively as Carol Ferris is emotionless, and her voice is so monotone. This isn't a criticism against Blake Lively as an actress, because I do think she's good. If you look at The Town, she's excellent in that. So, obviously, you got to look at the material she's been given, the direction, or lack of. Now, the remainder of the supporting cast is incredibly forgettable, and for the sake of Peter Sarsgaard, that's probably for the best. The highlight of the film, and I think everyone would agree, is Mark Strong as Sinestro. Now, this guy looked the part. He had a gravitas to him. You know, I do think Mark Strong is a great actor anyway, and he really played Sinestro sincerely. I remember watching an interview at the time, actually, with Mark Strong pulling his backpack to one side, pulling out a bunch of comic books and explaining to the interviewer the level of research he's been going into. Now, I am a fan of Green Lantern in the comics. Granted, I didn't really start reading Green Lantern until the movie was announced, but I can safely say I know enough about Green Lantern, similar to what I said in my Deadpool review. I know enough about Green Lantern to know what's good and what's bad and what I wanted to see in a Green Lantern movie. And I've read a majority of the Jeff Johns run of Green Lantern, from Rebirth, which is an incredible comic book, by the way, all the way up to Blackest Night. Now, the casting initially didn't bother me, and watching interviews at the time, the cast seemed very sincere about this film and about their characters. And I want to briefly talk about Martin Campbell, the director of this film, who is not a bad director. Let me make that clear. Martin Campbell is not a bad director. Martin Campbell managed to make two very successful James Bond movies that spawned franchises. And those were GoldenEye, which of course was the first appearance of Pierce Brosnan as the role, and then Casino Royale, which is arguably one of the best James Bond movies ever made. So Martin Campbell is not a bad director, and it makes sense to give a property like this to Martin Campbell, because you're hopefully starting a franchise and you're going to, I guess that would have been the catalyst for the DC cinematic universe if it had been successful. But Martin Campbell doesn't do science fiction. And the way he approached Green Lantern, it just doesn't make sense. Martin Campbell is such a great action director as well, and he's a big fan of using practical effects. So you look at Green Lantern and you kind of think he was just a gun for hire. The cracks started to show in production when they went over budget repeatedly. And then when the film actually came out, it seemed unfinished. At the time, though, I was in so much awe that I was getting one of my newly favourite comic book characters on the big screen that I didn't really analyse it as I should have. Bear in mind, this was pre-Avengers, so we only had some of the Phase 1 Marvel movies to sort of compare it to. And also, Green Lantern had the misfortune of following both X-Men First Class and Thor, arguably two of the best Marvel solo movies. Now, I have to talk about the script of this film, because it is horrendous. Now, it's not uncommon for a Hollywood movie to have several writers, but you'd think having so many writers, and I'll put them up on screen now, one person somewhere would say, that's actually not a good line. Do you want to try something else? But similarly, you'd think that the director would say, let's just get one more take because that was terrible. I feel like there's a lot of people to blame for how terrible some of the scenes in this movie are. There are 3 that spring to mind, and I will play them for you now.
Hey, Carol. Let's gonna maybe do a little flying today. What do you think?
I think you're late.
Yes, but that's only because I slept in.
I used to sleep in, then I turned 11.
You used to sleep in, then you turned 11. What a stupid throwaway line. It adds nothing to the scene. A better line genuinely would have been, I used to sleep in, but we all have to grow up sometime. Like, that's just me off the cuff. And it's better than, I used to sleep in and then I turned 11. What an unnecessary thing to say. It's so fucking stupid.
Dr. Hammond? Dr. Hector Hammond? We need to ask you to come with us.
Did Adam put you up to this?
Who the fuck is Adam? We never get a mention of Adam again. We'd never met Adam before. We've literally just met this guy. In the theatrical release of this film, we've just met this guy who already looks like a testicle. And boy, it gets worse. He's got this weird child molester kind of moustache, this weird smirk, and he asks FBI agents, did Adam put you up to this? Who the fuck is Adam?
Not bad, huh? You're a superhero.
Don't they always get the girl?
Don't they always get the girl? Why is it in a movie that already stars Ryan Reynolds you feel like you need to have a comic relief buddy? Who's not funny, by the way. Funny side note, that guy, yeah, him, he's going to be directing Thor Ragnarok. Let that sink in. And he also directed What We Do in the Shadows. So clearly, better at directing than he is at acting. Anyway, I need to talk about the effects in this film, because they are so inconsistent. So let me get this out of the way. Parallax looks like shit. Like actual poo flying through the air. The Guardians look shoddily rendered, like the rest of the Green Lantern creatures, however their designs are quite cool. I will say, however, Kilowog and Tomar Ray look great. I really like their designs, and also the voice acting by Michael Clark Duncan and Jeffrey Rush is great. In terms of environments, I'm always incredibly aware that I'm watching actors on a soundstage covered in blue or green paint, and they are acting against tennis balls on sticks, and they're having to pretend that all the shit is there. You're always aware of that. That being said, Oa does look beautiful. The thing is, when they're on Oa, there's no sets. It's all green screen or blue screen. And it really takes you out of it. Hal's suit in general looks okay, but just okay. But there are some scenes where it looks completely artificial, and then others where it actually looks great. The mask, however, I cannot get on board with. It looks terrible. Just use a practical mask. Simple as that. And where the fuck are my white gloves? But in terms of the design, in terms of the idea behind it, I understand it. The suit is made of energy, so why wouldn't it be motion capture and CGI and stuff like that? I just feel like the technology just wasn't up to scratch in 2011. You could probably try it again now. Zod's suit in Man of Steel is CGI. His armour that he wears is CGI, and a lot of people wouldn't know that. Now, there are some scenes where he looks like a floating head, but in general, no pun intended, Zod's suit looks great. Now, with all that said about Hal's suit, Sinestro's suit looks perfect. So I don't understand why there's such a difference between those two suits. Now onto the design of Hector Hammond. Hector Hammond looks like a screaming testicle. Overall, this movie is such a mixed bag that when I put in the Blu-ray, I find myself skipping to the best parts. And every time I re-watch it, I find it much more of a struggle to get through. I will say though, the opening scenes with Abin Sur escaping Parallax, awesome. However, I would have preferred Doug Jones to play him. I realise I never spoke about the plot, but I figured if you're watching this, you've probably already seen Green Lantern. If you haven't seen Green Lantern by now, don't. It's probably not worth it. But if you do want to know what the plot of the film is, Google it. That's what it's there for. Anyways, thank you for watching me rant about Green Lantern. If you've got something to say, leave a comment down below. If you like the video, please click thumbs up. And if you want to see more, hit subscribe. Thank you for watching.